Hi, my name is Priscilla Escobedo. I am the Special Collections Archivist over at the University of Texas at Arlington Special Collections. I'm also a board member of the Dallas Mexican American Historical League, and I work with Hola Tarrant County. These organizations seek to preserve the history of Mexican American, Hispanic, Latinx, and Chicano communities in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I'm here today to talk to you guys about Pioneer Cemetery. So what we know as Pioneer Cemetery was once about 3 to 4 cemeteries, depending on the years. This area here was once the Masonic Cemetery. Right behind us would have been the old Masonic Cemetery, underneath what is now the auditorium. And a little past that would have been the old Jewish Cemetery. As the city of Dallas developed, those two cemeteries, the old Masonic and the Jewish Cemetery, the bodies were picked up and removed to other cemeteries. The Jewish cemetery remains removed to Temple Emmanuel Cemetery, and a lot of the remains from the old Masonic Cemetery were moved to cemeteries that were close to downtown Dallas, such as Greenwood. This cemetery was purchased over a series of decades, 1850s, 1860s, and 1870s, by different Masonic organizations and Jewish organizations for the purpose of burying their people. While we can look out today and see a lot of downtown Dallas, this part of Dallas was once not within city limits. This was partially for health reasons. People got their water from the ground, and so they didn't want it near where they buried their ancestors. And it was to make sure that they had a peaceful resting place.
A lot of times when we think about cemeteries or grave sites, we think about open fields with either flat or standing up headstones. But in reality, a lot of these historical graveyards, cemeteries, and burial grounds will have different types of grave sites. So, for example, we've got a few clips of a grave site that's surrounded by a fence. These fences were put up to mark where a person was buried and to protect the grave site from people stepping on top of it. Other types of grave sites we'll see will have things like seashells that were pressed into cement, again, for either decorative or cultural purposes. As this area was being developed, a rail line cut through this corner of the cemetery, and as they constructed it, they ended up bringing up some unidentified bones along with the dirt that was removed for construction.
So that's kind of an interesting question. A lot of cities historically have moved cemeteries and bodies for the sake of development, while they were arguing about moving the old Masonic and the Jewish cemetery for the sake of building new buildings in this area. One of the Dallas Morning News historical articles actually quoted St. Louis as being a city that had moved at least a dozen by the time City of Dallas was talking about moving these cemeteries. So it's something that's happened historically, both for the purpose of constructing new buildings and for development, and it can also be used to forcibly remove communities and the history of communities. Here in Dallas, we actually have the Freedman Cemetery, which was built over by a highway, and a lot of those bodies were removed, and a lot of the historically black neighborhood was also removed. The University of Texas at Arlington actually has what we call the Dallas Death Map Project. And with this project, we're looking to put in different locations of where deaths have occurred in the city of Dallas and other cities in the Metroplex as the project expands. And it kind of gives you an idea of where places may be haunted. Some hot spots would be places like the Adolphus Hotel, central part of downtown Dallas. We did have a couple of hotel fires. We also had a few accidents, so definitely check out the death map if you're curious as to where you work or live could be haunted. All right, everyone, thank you so much for having me. If you have any more questions, please contact the Dallas Public Library or me over at UTA. Now back to your Boo Brunch.